We are up to Mishna Dalid of the third parak of Rosh Hashana. Having discussed the shofar which should be used on Rosh Hashana in the past few Mishnayot, now the Mishnah turns to the shofar which is appropriate to be used for other days of the year, not on Rosh Hashana. So Mishnah Daled begins, B'tanyot, on fast days. Now these are not the fast days which we're familiar with throughout the year. Rather, these are in situations where, God forbid, a calamity should befall Am Yisrael. So at a certain point, Beit Din will declare a Ta'anit, a fast day, and part of the mitzvah of that fast day, in addition to tefillah, to davening, to tshuva, to repenting, and to tzedakah, okay, is the mitzvah to blow the chatzotzrot, the trumpets. Okay, and in the Beit HaMikdash, in addition to the trumpets, they would also sound the shofar. So it teaches us the Mishnah, B'ta'aniyot, on these fast days, B'shel Zecharim, the shofar to be used in the Beit HaMikdash should be from a ram, kifufin, it should be curved, bent. Upihen mitzupek kesef, the mouthpiece of this shofar should be covered in silver. As opposed to on Rosh Hashana, we learned it was covered in gold. Here it's covered in silver. And again, it's not exactly by the mouthpiece, it's a little bit removed. There should be nothing which separates between the mouth, the mouth of the one who blows and the shofar itself. So it's a little bit removed, but by the mouthpiece it's covered in silver. Ushtei chatzotzrot ba'emtza, and there would be two people blowing the trumpets in the middle, meaning you would have four people in a row. The two in the middle would blow the trumpets, and the two on the sides would blow the shofar. And the reason is that the primary mitzvah of Ta'anit is to blow the trumpets. This is recorded in Sefer Bamidbar, Perek Yud, and therefore prominence is given to these trumpets. They go in the middle, the shofars go on the ends. Shofar mekatzer v'chatzotzrot ma'arichot. The sound of the shofar would be shortened, v'chatzotzrot ma'arichot, whereas the sound of the trumpets would be extended, would be longer. Again, it would extend after the shofar stopped being blown. Shemitzvan hayom b'chatzotzrot. The same reason we said beforehand, because the mitzvah of the day is to blow the chatzotzrot, the trumpets, and therefore prominence would be given to these trumpets. The sound would extend beyond the sound of the shofar. Again, this is only in the Beit HaMikdash. Outside the Beit HaMikdash, they would only blow the trumpets on a fast day. In the Beit HaMikdash, they would blow both the trumpets as well as the shofar. Mishnah Hey. The Mishnah now will discuss the shofar which will be blown during Yom Kippur of the Yovel year. We discussed earlier in the previous video that in Eretz Yisrael, so there would be a cycle every 7 years would be a one full Shemitah cycle. The 7th year, the farmers would stop working the land. After 7 of such cycles, there's the Yovel year. The 50th year would be the Yovel year, where the farmers also would not work the land, as well as all lands would return back to their original owners, and all slaves would go free. That's the Yovel year. On Yom Kippur of the Yovel year, there's a mitzvah to blow the shofar. Teaches us the Mishnah, Shaveh hayovel l'Rosh Hashana litkia ulebrachot. The blowing of the shofar on the Yovel year is similar to blowing it on Rosh Hashana every year, both in terms of tkiya, of blowing, and in terms of brachot, the additional brachot which are added to the tefillah. Meaning, with tkiya, in terms of blowing, that both the type of shofar as well as the number of sounds which are blown are the same on the Yovel year as they are for Rosh Hashana, and the brachot in terms of the special brachot which are added, and this refers to the Musaf Tefillah on Rosh Hashana, whereas we know we add in the brachot of Malchiot, Zichronot, and Shofarot. Malchiot talks all about Hashem's kingship over the world. Zichronot speaks about how Hashem remembers and acts upon that memory and is involved in the world, and Shofarot discusses Hashem revealing himself in the world. These three brachot, Malchiot, Zichronot, and Shofarot, which are familiar to us on Rosh Hashana, they would be recited on Yom Kippur of the Yovel year during Musaf as well. Rabbi Yehuda says as follows. He disagrees with one important halacha we learned earlier, all the way back in Mishnah Gimel, I believe it was, and that is B'Rosh Hashana tokim b'shel zecharim. Says Rabbi Yehuda, on Rosh Hashana, ideally one should blow a ram's horn, which is curved, which is bent. Uviyovlot, and on a Yovel year, b'shel ye'elim. Ideally, what should be blown is the shofar of a Ya'el, of a wild goat, which is relatively straight. To review exactly how Rabbi Yehuda disagrees with what we have learned, what we learned in the past, so I present to you this following chart here. Okay, basically there are 3 times during the course of the year when we blow the shofar. One is on Rosh Hashana. The second is on a Tanit. God forbid, we shouldn't have to blow it. There shouldn't be situation shouldn't occur. And the third is the Yovel year, the 50th year on Yom Kippur. Okay, so if you look on so let's start from the right. So the Chachamim on Rosh Hashanah say that ideally one should blow the rather straight shofar of a wild goat, whereas Rabbi Yehuda says that ideally one should blow a curved, bent shofar of a ram. Now the explanation for this machloket, as explained by the Gemara, is that according to Rabbi Yehuda, a person should express his humility and being bent over in his tefillot on Rosh Hashanah, and the shofar is an instrument of tefillah, and therefore it too should be curved and bent over. Whereas Chachamim say a person's tefillot should be straight, should be from a point of clarity, of perhaps even confidence, and therefore it should be straight, and therefore the shofar as well, the instrument of tefillah, should be straight. On a Ta'anit, everybody agrees that it should be the curved horn of a ram, and on a Yovel year, everybody agrees that it should be the relatively straight horn of a wild goat.